Do a video on how to set up themes and I guess the themes, for a house vision or a look or a sermon series. So for Mercy Culture Church, the way we're doing things is we have a theme set up for every series of the church. It'll be on Sunday mornings. And that series is used for several weeks or months. And then every housed vision that comes in, so that's for us is Justice Reform, which is in once a night to do prayer meetings. Axel Creative, which is in quarterly-ish. Distinct Business is about quarterly. Each of those things, and MCE, which is every Sunday. All those bodies, all those housed visions and campuses will have their own theme that they'll use to make the service, the live stream content, and LED wall fit the look they want that is consistent with their housed vision and the rest of the content they're putting out, like on Instagram or print. So how do we do that? How do we make it all look pretty? So we work with the housed vision or campus to set up the theme. So how do we do themes? In Propresenter, we go to theme. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. We'll recreate it. Theme. New theme. We'll say distinct. Hopefully I spelled that right. It's okay, it's just an example. So we've created a new theme for distinct. And the themes dictate how slides look, either to the user, or you can apply themes to outputs and dictate how content will look. We'll get into that more, but the themes are going to control how everything looks coming out of Propresenter and being seen by the user of Propresenter. So we're going to go to our template, which is right now is Healthy Relationships. We're going to copy all this content. You can select one slide, hit Command A, Command C is copy, go to distinct, click on the slide, right click, paste. First slide we don't need, and we have healthy relationships in here. See if there's anything we don't need real quick. We don't need this guy or that guy. Stream LED, scriptures used for notes LED. Don't need notes for MCE. Sweet. So setting these up for a housed vision, the scriptures are always going to have two different boxes. One is for the reference, one is for the scripture itself. So that's Propresenter needs both so that it can give you both individually and let you control the way those look individually. So the housed vision should tell you how those are going to look, what font type, which can be adjusted over here. Font size, there's some other more intrinsic, deep settings, technical settings, but those we'll just tweak with the housed vision to make look how they want. One of the things that we use here at Mercy Culture on Sundays is a lower third, which is, where is it? Lower third, here it is. You can see this black box is the only content that will actually be seen. And that goes behind this text. So we'll drag it over. We want to center it up. If you go to shape, you can hit the center button there, that centers it vertically and horizontally. There's also keyboard shortcuts. Right now it's on top of the text, which is not what we want. We can't see the verses. So we'll go over to the objects, and the objects are layered one on top of the other. So the top of this list is the top layer. So our graphics are currently on top. So if we change it to the bottom, now the text is on top, and that's what we're going for. So we would add the graphic and then move the text around so it's where we want it for the look of this housed vision. So I'll move this one around just for the sake of it. If you lock that layer, then you can't select it. That's helpful. Stretch to fit. You want to make sure the reference is pretty long. I try to just make it all the way. If the box is too short, you might get something longer. In Spanish, sometimes it lists, or in English, it says, was it Acts of the Apostles? I don't know if that's how you spell it. But that wouldn't fit if it's too long, and then that is too long, so it doesn't fit. And then you end up with this number here, and you can't read anything at all. So make sure text box is long enough to fit the longest book in the Bible. So we set that up. That looks good. LED wall. So there's content here. Same thing. There's one box for the reference, one box for the scripture itself. And then these are going to be displayed on where is Finder? On a background, so sermon background, that should be provided by the housed vision or campus. Come on, sermon background. Drag it over. We don't leave the sermon background in. It can cause issues in other areas of Propresenter if we leave the background. So this is displayed on a separate computer, but this content will go on top and it will look just like this. So this is our reference for setup on how it's going to look. You want to make sure it's not like covering up this text up here. You wouldn't want, excuse me. So I can select this stuff. The text up here, because that starts to get hard to read for the text. So to make it legible, we slide it down to where it's below that text. We've tried to fit it inside of the darkest part of this graphic and letting all this colorful stuff just be a border. So just make it look good. Work with the housed vision on how they want to set this up. These are some output slides, output themes, let's say. This one is just what the user's going to see, so we just want to make the text bigger so it's easier to read. In Propresenter, when the user sees it, let's see, theme, say distinct user. This is what the user's actually going to see. So we want to make that text big so it's easy to read. If you use distinct, like the LED wall version, it's really tiny and it's hard to read. So we make a separate separate theme that has it really big so it's easy to read. Let's make this bigger too. Boom, you can read that. Again, make it long so it doesn't get chopped off. So that one's much less critical. It's just for what the users are going to see, so make it legible. Again, this is moving into a different thing during sermon. When they have notes that aren't a scripture, it's just text, like bullet points or highlights from the sermon. We'll have text, and then we'll use the same lower third. The house vision you're working with might have different ones, which is totally fine. Either way, you would add it, just drag it over, center it up, put it behind the text, and then adjust the text box accordingly to like whatever placement is desired. And then we could change the font type, I guess. Let's say we want to do something weird like this squiggly stuff. That's almost impossible to read, so please don't ever use that font. But if they want to use it, just let them use what they want to use. So that would be setting up the notes for the stream. And then notes for LED wall. Again, we would have the sermon background, and it would go in here. We'll use it for just a reference. Center it up, drag it behind the text. Make sure it doesn't overlap that, just for legibility's sake. This, I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe I want to move it down a little bit. Oops. Don't want to move down the graphic. Move it there, that way the text is getting boxed in by this colorful line there. That looks great to me, so we're going to leave it. House Vision says it looks good. And that is notes for the LED. This is an extra thing. Delete that. Stream LED notes for user. Again, this is just what the user is going to see, so we've made it really big. That's probably more than big enough, but we could move it around. Don't want to have content in the corner. You want to keep it kind of centered-ish. In fact, let's center that, make it a little bigger, and then a little more font. Yeah. Graphics. This is just one that we're doing a little trick with. Whenever we display a graphic, we don't want any text to appear. So we've added these text box, and they're slid in off the slide itself. This one up here, yeah. They're off the slide so that if any text is on a slide that has a graphic, or maybe before a graphic, it won't go on the slide when there's a graphic. It'll be moved off of the slide. This will make more sense in a moment, but just know this is just a basic slide we use. You shouldn't have to edit it at all. It'll just stay consistent. Name keys, same thing. Name keys, there's two boxes. One is the name, one is the title. You can't see it here because guess what it needs? A graphic. We go over here, there should be a box for the name keys. This is lower third. Again, just work with the house vision on what we're using. Send it to the back. Boom, now you can see the text. Maybe you want it to be a little more left indent all the way up in there like that, a little more spaced out, and make the text bigger. And then they say, hey, that looks great. So that is the name key. This is going to go on the stream because it's in the lower third. Same thing for the LED wall. You'd have text. They're using a different color because they have a different text box for the LED wall name keys. Okay, so that probably looks a little weird, so I'm going to drag it over, make this box a little bigger. Bada boom. Now, maybe that's a little, let's do bold. Let's do bold. I'm just making decisions, but go with whatever the house vision wants. We're facilitating their vision, so let's work with them to get what they want to see. So now we have a name key for both the stream, which is on the bottom, and the LED wall, which is on the top. Worship, we can change these however they want to change. I don't have a template on me for the black cinema bars, but on the live stream, this fits inside of the cinema bar that's on the bottom. We basically just put bars, it makes the screen feel ultra wide. But again, we can change this up. The only real limitations, I guess, are your imagination. Some recommendations, though, are don't put the lyrics above and below the black bars, because that would look weird and be possibly unlegible for the stream. I would suggest staying in the cinema bars for live stream, or have a box. But again, just work with house visions on how they want to set it up. And again, we have another slide for users. Boom. So that's all the slides for the themes we're going to need. That's a lot, but we only have to set it up once and we're done. And then every series that changes, or maybe every quarter for Axel or whomever, we change up the looks a little bit, but they fit this theme. So now, how does the theme work? How does it get applied? Well, what we do is we go to Screens and Looks. Okay, so Looks apply themes to outputs. So these are all the different looks we have, and they will apply the themes to these outputs, LED wall and stream. Lyrics isn't one we're actually using right now. It's a testing thing, but in fact, I'm just gonna delete it real quick. Boom, it's gone. Now you can't see it. It's not confusing. So we're only going to use the looks to apply themes that we just created to these outputs, LED wall and stream. How do we do that? Well, we're going to copy some of these, duplicate. I'm just going to do these three for now. Duplicate this. Because we'll want to have scriptures, notes, name keys. I use these bars just as a visual break. That way you can tell where one house visions or campus's looks are located quickly and easily. So for these, we would rename. We would want it to be Fort Worth. We'd say distinct. I'm going to use an abbreviation that I just made up. Distinct. I'm going to get rid of the one. So now the distinct scripture look will apply on the LED wall this theme. We go to distinct scripture LED, boom. Distinct scripture stream. So now when we apply this look, the LED wall will force the theme that we created for the LED wall. I'm going to do one more for name keys. Distinct, and name keys for LED. Distinct, name keys, stream. So these themes are applied in the presentation layer. These other layers control or are indicating which layers will go or be displayed on that output. Don't have to worry about them too much. Just know that they're already set and they already work, but you can play with them for house vision if we need to. Recommend not, because it will change how stuff functions. So just, if you're going to play with it, make sure you know what you're doing so that you can fix it if it has a problem. So we've created the looks for the scriptures and name keys. So these looks now will apply the themes to the outputs. And how would that function? So let me remove this one that's on there. Right now, if we do, let's change the look. So if you don't apply a look to a slide, whatever look is active will be used. It'll force stuff to look a certain way. So right now when we click this, we get nothing. Let's see if we do worship. That's a great one. If we click worship, right now this is how stuff appears. It's kind of nonsensical. On the stream, they're overlapped. You can barely tell. On the LED wall, it's split top and bottom, so this would be impossible to read on the LED wall. It's too low. But if we go to right click, add action, audience look, distinct scripture. Now when we click the slide, the look will apply the themes to the outputs and force the text to match the theme. Boom. Now look, we got the text that we wanted and where we want it on both the LED wall and the live stream, which is great. One additional step that we've done just to make it simpler, because now if we go from this slide to this slide, we have an issue where stuff is displayed incorrectly. Or if we went to, man, I need a name key. Sorry, y'all, I didn't prepare with a name key. I was supposed to have that. Oh, man. Okay, we'll go where one of the name keys is. Take all of these threes. Okay, so remove, clear all, remove all. So we're just clearing out what's already set up. So if you're on a scripture, you've applied the look, it looks great. You can apply a look to a slide. If you don't apply a look to this name key, it'll be forced to use the look that's already active. So you always want to have a look on the slide, and the look will force the content of the slide to be fit the theme that's applied to the outputs. So for this, we would right click, add action, audience look, distinct name keys. And now that it fits in the text box, it's just how we wanted it. One further thing we usually do is right click, add action, clear group, clear all. It's kind of a deep dive in the menu. Doesn't really need to be that long, but I didn't make the program. So clear all is great because it'll clear all the content before. Because sometimes if you click, for instance, this healthy relationship slide, so you got all these other content popping up because they were previously applied and haven't been cleared. But now when we go to this slide, it clears everything for us. And it looks exactly how we want it. You don't have any extra stuff appearing. Sometimes that happens and we don't like it. So, in order to make this simpler, the process that we've been following is to create a macro. And the macro just lets you apply multiple actions at the same time. So I'm going to make a space macro. That just gives us some space to breathe. Distinct, we'll say scripture. Let's add one more. Distinct name key. So for the scripture, we're going to right click, add action, just like we've done on the slide. Audience look, distinct scripture, boom. So now anytime this macro is applied, that audience look is applied so that the content of the slide is fit to a specific theme for each output. But we also want to add clear all. So you definitely don't want to go through this whole menu of action, clear, clear group, clear all for every single slide you add. That would be incredibly tedious. So instead, you would have, let's say you have several scriptures like we do here. We got 1, 2, 3. You can hit command and select each slide. Hold command, select slides, right click, add action, macro, distinct scripture. So now that's added 2 actions. That's the audience look and clear all. So these slides now appear how we want them to. Same thing, Zane Anderson name key. Let's get rid of all that. Just go down here to the macro, right click, add action, audience look, where's it? Distinct name key. Add action, clear, clear, clear all, boom. And you can just drag the macro onto the slide. One thing they haven't fixed in Propresenter is the ability to select multiple slides and then drag a macro to all the slides. It'll only apply the macro to the slide that it's on, one slide at a time. So you'll need to right click several slides and apply the macro that way. But now we can switch between these 2 different slides. Put up my preview. And everything appears correctly. We don't get anything lingering from one slide to the next. that's basically it. You would go through and create other ones for the other looks. So scriptures, notes, name keys, graphics, what else? And then worship. One of the bonuses, in addition to making it easier to apply multiple actions to a slide, visually you can tell that these all have a unique macro. And we're working on color coding them all, so anytime you see red, it's going to mean one thing. So you know you have the red macro applied, everything you need is set correctly for that slide. And that way, no matter what you're doing, the look might be different for Distinct or Axel or Mercy Culture Fort Worth, but the macros are all going to say the same thing. So you come in, you see red, it's going to display correctly. So that's what we're going for with the color coding of the macros. That's still a work in process, but that's it. That's how you apply themes. So real quick recap. We set up a theme. We did new theme. We created a new theme here. We copied the template, which for us currently is healthy relationships. Eventually we'll probably just call it template. Right click copy. We went back to the test. We pasted all the slides in here. We adjusted them to meet the requirements of the house vision, whatever they wanted to do. We set it up for them. And then on our own time, we went and created looks. And again, the looks apply the theme to the output. So we set those up for scriptures and notes, name keys. You do graphics, worship, loops, conference monitor, and bugs. We set all those up. And then we created macros. Click on the little plus icon, distinct notes. And then here we added the actions, so that the macro will apply the themes to the correct outputs now. Distinct. Nope, I missed. I gotta have it right. So the macro will now apply the correct actions to the slides. It applies notes and clear all. And there might be other things you want to apply. And those go on all the slides as needed to get content to be displayed how we want. So hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of a whole process, kind of a long talk, but if you have any questions, let us know. We can help clarify it, and we'll update you as we update our processes. But